Hey everyone! Today I'd like to invite you along on a trip I took, well, actually a few months ago. I went to the Royal Winter Fair in Toronto. I had two goals on this outing. The first was to practice some sketching of live animals on location. My second goal was to help my border collie get over her crippling fear of sheep. If you're new here, welcome! My name is Lee Angold. I'm a natural science artist based in Kitchener-Waterloo in Canada. On this channel, I share watercolor techniques and tips and some insights into my daily life as an illustrator, an artist, somebody living with a disability, and a service dog handler. If you'd like to find out more about me or stay in closer touch, I've left all my links down below, including my free Discord server and my Patreon, where you can support me. This is my service dog, Ember. Her job is mostly to herd me. She herds me through my daily routines every day. She herds me to bed when I have an autoimmune flare-up. Ember looks like a fluffy cartoon wolf, but she is half border collie. Like most border collies, Ember loves herding. When she's not herding me, Ember herds other creatures. Ember herds dogs at the park. Ember herds her cat brother, Neuron. Ember herds neighborhood children. One thing Ember does not herd is sheep, because Ember is terrified of sheep. I'm hoping that on this trip to the Royal Winter Fair, we'll be able to help her overcome her fear of sheep. The Royal Winter Fair is an annual agricultural fair held in Toronto, Ontario, Canada. Over the course of this 2-week event, farmers from across Ontario and even other provinces in Canada showcase what they've been growing and raising on their farm. Animals are shown at livestock competitions and auctions throughout the week. You can also go take a closer look at some of the animals in the animal barns. I've been visiting the Royal Winter Fair since I was a little kid. It's kind of an annual family tradition. When my sister and I were little, we did a 4-H program at a local hobby demonstration farm. Our big project was lambs. We helped birth the lambs and raise them. We took the lambs to the Royal Winter Fair, where my sister got to show hers in one of the competition rings and won some nice ribbons. While I am not a farmer and I don't have any livestock to show, I still like to visit the Royal Winter Fair, both for nostalgia's sake, as well as an adult and professional artist, I've discovered that this is actually a great opportunity for sketching animals in motion. While I don't make it every year, I do try to visit the Royal Winter Fair from time to time, and I have been several times. This is also Ember's second trip to the Royal Winter Fair. I first brought her here a couple years ago. She was just over a year old and fairly new, just starting out her public access training as a service dog. I wanted her to be exposed to the big crowds, the chaos, the smells, and get used to seeing other animals. Mostly, it went pretty good. Ember is always very good in big, crowded people situations. It's actually where she displays her best behavior. It's actually a bit of an insecurity for me, because it's opposite from most dogs. Ember's non-reactive to chaos and loud noises, but she does tend to act up when she's bored, so sometimes I feel like people will see her being a little bit of a brat when we're in a quiet area and think that she's not appropriate for busier settings. But she's actually wonderful around distraction, noises, foods, smells. A lot of that is due to training, since she's been exposed to a variety of different situations since she was fairly young. On her first visit, Ember loved the cows, the goats, and the horses. The sheep barn smelled so good to her silly border collie brain. Holding onto the pull strap on her harness, I decided to let her lead, and she beelined straight for the sheep barn. Those sheep herding instincts are strong in border collies. However, as we got closer to the barn itself, the smells and sounds of the sheep clearly got quite overwhelming for her. Ember froze up and pressed herself close against my leg for protection. Her ears flared sideways. Clearly, it was just a lot for her. Eventually, she gathered her courage and came through the barn doors. In the very first pen was a very large sheep that had just been groomed and was wearing a heavy coat or blind to keep her clean in preparation for showing. The sheep turned her head, a faceless ghost with her features obscured by the grooming blanket, and let out a very loud meh. I swear Ember went from standing on the ground to her shoulder level with mine briefly. She refused to get any closer to any of the sheep. Poor baby was kind of terrified. I did find it pretty neat that all of the sheep farmers immediately recognized Ember as some kind of collie or collie mix, because out in public, more frequently people guess that she's a husky, or sometimes they'll guess the Malamute half, but very rarely do people ever see the border collie on first glance. However, farmers who work with border collies see her as just a kind of oversized border collie. They also laughed and reassured me that this is actually a fairly common reaction for dogs whose first introduction to sheeps is a sheep barn, and that she would get over it and get along great with sheeps if I just gave her some space and then tried again a few more times. Hopefully 2 years was enough of a wait time before a second attempt at this sheep barn. Well, not quite. Sheep, still pretty spooky. But at least she's not jumping out of her skin this time. Ember didn't want to get too close to the sheep pens, which was a perfect opportunity for me to practice some sketching. I'm using a variety of mostly dry media here. Although I did bring a set of watercolors, I also brought a handful of pens, pencils, and a couple markers, a half dozen colored pencils, some fairly random materials to just challenge myself and give me a way to sketch without getting a whole watercolor set out in this busy environment. The sheep were very curious about us. They were curious about me and my sketchbook. My friend Jamie, who was helping me record this video. Most of all, it quickly became clear that the sheep were very interested in Ember. This was surprising to me, and I love noticing these things while I'm sketching. Although I know that border collies, herding dogs, have this deep intrinsic drive that makes them very interested in sheep, it didn't quite dawn on me that that goes the other way too, and that the sheep are kind of fascinated by their herders. We moved around the barn a bit and visited some other areas of the fair, but kept coming back to the sheep barn. By the end of the day, Ember had gotten over her fear of sheep enough that she was poking her head through the pens to taste each sheep's water. She even stopped jumping back at the sheep in grooming coats. Overall, I would say this outing was a great success. I hope you enjoyed joining us on this little adventure of ours. Let me know down in the comments below if you'd like to see more of this vloggy type content, or if there's specific places or subjects that you'd like to see me paint. As always, thank you so much for joining me. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Thank you. Bye-bye.